What if everything you've been told about healing trauma is backwards? What if trying to overcome it, forget it, move past it, is precisely what keeps you trapped? For years, maybe decades, you've carried something heavy. A wound that won't close. Patterns that repeat no matter how hard you try to change them. Relationships that mirror the same pain. Reactions that feel bigger than the moment, like something ancient is moving through you. You've tried to be strong. You've tried to move on. You've told yourself that the past is the past, that you just need to let it go. But here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud the wound is still bleeding. And pretending it isn't only makes it worse. Carl Jung spent his life exploring the deepest territories of the human psyche, and what he discovered changes everything we think we know about trauma. He found that when we experience something too painful to process, it doesn't disappear into nothing. It fragments. It separates from our conscious awareness and begins operating in the shadows like a silent program running in the background of your life. These fragments become what he called autonomous complexes. Think of them as psychic entities with their own logic, their own intentions, their own way of hijacking your present moment. They're formed from experiences your ego couldn't handle, memories wrapped in unbearable emotion that got locked away for safety. But what's locked away doesn't lose its power. It gains it. Have you ever exploded at something small and wondered where that rage came from? Have you ever sabotaged something good in your life and couldn't explain why? That's the complex activating. That's the wound taking control. These complexes don't just influence you occasionally. They can commandeer your entire personality in certain moments. You become unrecognizable to yourself. Later you look back and think, why did I say that? Why did I do that? It's because in that moment you weren't fully yourself. A fragment was in control. And here's where it gets even more disturbing. Over time, trauma doesn't just hurt you, it becomes you. Your identity starts to orbit around the pain. You become the victim, the broken one, the damaged goods. And any attempt to heal feels like a threat, because if the pain goes away, who are you without it? This is the invisible prison most people never escape. But Jung offered something radical, a path through the darkness, not around it. A descent into the wound itself to retrieve what was lost and integrate it into wholeness. Not healing by forgetting, but healing by finally becoming whole. If you've made it this far, something in you recognizes this truth. If this resonates with your soul's journey, hit that like button and subscribe. This message needs to reach others still trapped in patterns they don't understand. Most approaches to trauma focus on managing symptoms. Control your thoughts, regulate your emotions, avoid triggers, return to normal functioning. But Jung saw something these methods miss entirely: the unconscious dimension where trauma actually lives. The psyche isn't a single unified thing, it's layered. There's the conscious ego, the face you show the world. Below that lies the personal unconscious, filled with forgotten memories and repressed emotions. And beneath that, the collective unconscious, the deeper waters we all share. Trauma operates primarily in that personal unconscious. When something overwhelms the ego's capacity to process it, the psyche does something ingenious and terrible. It dissociates the experience. It walls it off, creating what becomes an autonomous complex. These complexes are not metaphors. They function like separate personalities within you, complete with their own emotional charge, their own memories, their own way of perceiving the world. They activate automatically when triggered by anything that symbolically connects to the original trauma. A tone of voice, a facial expression, a moment of vulnerability. Suddenly, you're not responding to what's actually happening. You're responding to something that happened years ago. This is why you can be a rational, intelligent person and still find yourself reacting in ways that make no sense. It's not weakness, It's the complex doing what complexes do, trying desperately to protect you from ever being hurt that way again, even when the threat isn't real anymore. Everyone carries multiple complexes. There's the abandonment complex that gets triggered when someone doesn't text back. The inadequacy complex that activates when you're praised and immediately feel like a fraud. The betrayal complex that makes you suspicious even of people who've never hurt you. Each one formed around a different wound. Jung recognized something most people miss. These patterns aren't random. The unconscious isn't trying to torture you. It's trying to heal you. Every time you attract a familiar, painful situation, every time you replay a destructive pattern, your psyche is attempting to resolve what was left unfinished. The problem is, without conscious awareness, it can only repeat. It cannot resolve. Think about your own life for a moment. Where do you see the same story playing out over and over? The same type of relationship ending the same way? The same self-sabotage at the moment of success? That's not bad luck. That's an autonomous complex seeking completion. The unconscious works through what depth psychologists call the repetition compulsion. It's not that you want to suffer again. It's that some unconscious part of you believes that if you can just recreate the circumstances this time, you'll get it right. This time, you'll be chosen. This time, love won't be withdrawn. But consciousness is the missing ingredient. Without bringing awareness to these patterns, you're like someone trying to solve a puzzle in the dark. The pattern just repeats endlessly, exhaustingly, until you finally turn on the light. And here's where Jung's insight becomes revolutionary. He understood that buried in the darkness of trauma are parts of yourself that got frozen in time. Your spontaneity, your voice, your ability to trust, to feel joy, to be vulnerable. These aren't just lost memories. They're lost potentials, fragments of your soul that need to be retrieved. The shadow, that repository of everything you've rejected about yourself, holds these fragments. And the more you try to push the shadow away, the more power it gains over you. What remains unconscious will run your life from behind the scenes. What is brought into consciousness can finally be transformed. This understanding is central to Carl Jung empath and personal development work. The empathic capacity to feel deeply becomes the very tool for descending into these wounded places. It's through feeling, not thinking your way around, that integration becomes possible. There's a moment in every traumatized person's life when the pain stops being something that happened to them and becomes who they are. It's subtle, unconscious, but devastating. When trauma is intense enough and remains unintegrated long enough, it becomes the center of gravity around which everything else orbits. Your beliefs about yourself get filtered through it. Your relationships get organized around it. Your choices, your fears, your secret sense of being fundamentally broken, all of it traces back to that wound you've tried so hard to forget. This is identification with the complex, and it's one of the most powerful barriers to healing because it operates completely outside awareness. You don't decide to become your trauma. It just slowly, imperceptibly becomes the lens through which you see everything. The personal narrative changes. You're no longer someone who experienced abandonment. You become the abandoned one. You're no longer someone who was hurt. You become the damaged one, the one who can't be loved, the one for whom good things don't last. And once this identification solidifies, the psyche begins organizing reality to confirm it. This is why people unconsciously resist healing, not because they enjoy suffering, but because healing threatens the only identity they know. If the pain goes away, what's left? Who are you without the story you've been telling yourself for 20 years? The ego constructs elaborate defense systems to maintain this identity. You minimize good experiences. Someone loves you genuinely, but you can't let it in because it contradicts your core belief that you're unlovable. Success comes, but you dismiss it as luck. Happiness arrives, but you immediately start waiting for the other shoe to drop. So you sabotage. You return to relationships that mirror the original trauma. You destroy opportunities right before they bloom. You pull back when intimacy gets too close, when success gets too real, when happiness starts to feel possible. And you tell yourself, it's just bad luck, just your fate. But here's what's actually happening. The unconscious is staging symbolic reenactments, attempting to rewrite the ending of a story that never got resolution. Every time you recreate the painful dynamic, some part of you is hoping this time will be different. This time, you'll be chosen. This time, you'll be enough. Except without awareness, the ending never changes. The script just repeats over and over, each repetition deepening the groove, strengthening the complex, confirming the identity. I am the one who gets hurt. Jung observed this pattern in countless patients. The compulsion to repeat trauma isn't masochism, it's a failed healing attempt. The psyche is trying to digest what it couldn't digest the first time. But consciousness is required for true digestion. Consider the woman who grew up with an alcoholic father. She swore she'd never marry someone like him. Yet she finds herself drawn to emotionally unavailable men who disappear without explanation, who leave her constantly anxious. Her unconscious is trying to master the original situation, to finally get the unreliable father figure, to be consistent, to prove she's worthy of stable love. Or the man who was humiliated by his mother for showing emotion. Now, as an adult, every time he gets close to someone and starts to feel vulnerable, he becomes cold, distant, critical. He's recreating the dynamic where vulnerability equals humiliation, taking on the role of the one who humiliates to avoid being humiliated again. And there's another layer. Trauma doesn't just wound you, it steals pieces of you. The child who used to laugh easily learns that showing joy invites pain, so spontaneity gets locked away. The teenager who spoke their truth gets punished for it, so their voice goes silent. The young adult who opened their heart gets betrayed, so the capacity for vulnerability freezes. These aren't just behaviors you lost. They're parts of your soul that detached for survival. And they're still there in the unconscious waiting, frozen in the moment of trauma. To truly heal means to go back and retrieve them, to bring warmth back to what got frozen. This is the archaeological work of integration. You're not just processing memories, you're excavating lost aspects of yourself and learning to embody them again in the present. Learning to laugh when laughter was forbidden. Learning to speak when silence was survival. Learning to trust when trust meant destruction. The journey of Carl Jung, empath, and personal development requires this kind of soul retrieval. It's not enough to understand what happened intellectually. You have to descend into the feeling of it, locate the frozen parts, and consciously choose to bring them back to life. This is what separates surface healing from true transformation. So how does this actually work? How do you take something that's been operating unconsciously for years and bring it into the light? Jung outlined a process that moves through 3 essential stages. The first stage is conscious confrontation. This is where you stop running and turn to face the wound directly. Not with intellectual distance, not with spiritual bypassing, but with full emotional presence. You allow yourself to feel what you've been avoiding. You look at the memories you've tried to erase. You acknowledge the impact without minimizing it. This confrontation isn't about reliving trauma for its own sake. It's about becoming a conscious witness to your own experience. The ego, which has spent years in denial or dissociation, finally says, yes, this happened. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it changed me. And in that acknowledgement, something shifts. The wound stops operating in secret. Confrontation happens in many ways. Through therapy, where a skilled guide creates safety for you to explore what you've avoided. through journaling, where you write the stories you've never told, through somatic work, where you let the body reveal what the mind has forgotten. You might sit with the memory of being abandoned, and instead of immediately distracting yourself, you stay. You feel the terror of that 5-year-old watching their parent leave. You feel the loneliness, the confusion, the desperate belief that it must have been your fault. You let it all surface without trying to fix it. And here's what's crucial: you do this as your adult self, not as the child who experienced it. You bring your current consciousness to the past experience. You witness it with compassion instead of judgment. The second stage is recovery of lost aspects. This is the archaeological work. Once you've confronted the wound, you begin to ask, what did I lose? What parts of me got buried or frozen? And then you go looking for them. This happens through dreams, through creative expression, through body memory, through therapeutic dialogue. You might discover the playful child who disappeared after the divorce, the confident voice that went silent after being shamed, the open heart that closed after betrayal. And here's where the work becomes deeply practical. Recovery isn't just remembering, it's practicing. If you lost your voice, you practice speaking your truth in small, safe ways. Maybe you start by expressing an opinion about something low stakes. Then you work up to sharing your feelings with someone you trust. If you lost spontaneity, you practice allowing yourself moments of unplanned joy. You dance in your kitchen when no one's watching. You take a different route home just because. You say yes to an invitation without overthinking every possible outcome. If you lost trust, you practice vulnerability in relationships that have earned it. You share something small and see what happens. You ask for help and notice that someone shows up. Each small experience begins to thaw the frozen belief that trust always leads to betrayal. The third stage is symbolic integration. This is perhaps the most sophisticated part of Jung's approach. It's where you take the entire experience and you find meaning in it. Not justification, not everything happens for a reason, but personal meaning that transforms the experience from pure destruction into a portal. Symbols are the language of the unconscious. When you can symbolize your trauma, when you can see it as part of a larger story of transformation, it stops being only a wound. It becomes a mark, a scar that tells a story of survival, of strength discovered in darkness. Resilience, depth, compassion, clarity about what matters. These emerge not despite the pain, but through it. The wound, when integrated, becomes a teacher. Not one you would have chosen, but one that shaped you into someone who understands things that comfort could never teach. You begin to see how the trauma forced you to develop capacities you might never have discovered otherwise. The person abandoned as a child becomes someone who deeply values loyalty. The person betrayed becomes someone with extraordinary discernment. The person who survived abuse becomes someone with profound empathy for others in pain. This is the alchemical process Jung spoke of, the lead of suffering transforming into the gold of consciousness. And it doesn't happen once, it's a spiral. You return to the pain again and again, each time with more capacity, more awareness, more strength. Living in this process means your relationship with trauma fundamentally changes. It's no longer something that happened to you that you're trying to overcome. It becomes something that happened through you, that you survived, that revealed parts of yourself you didn't know existed. The focus of Carl Jung empath and personal development shifts from fixing what's broken to integrating what was fragmented. And you don't do this alone. The journey requires support, guidance, companionship, therapy, community, people who can hold space for your darkness without trying to fix it. But when you commit to it, when you descend into your own depths with courage and consciousness, something miraculous happens. The wound that controlled you becomes a scar that guides you. The trauma that defined you becomes an experience you integrated. You stop being the victim of your past and become the author of your present. True healing doesn't return you to who you were before trauma. It transforms you into someone who could only exist because of it. When integration is complete or complete enough, trauma stops being the unconscious driver of your life. The memories remain. The pain may even visit occasionally, but it no longer has the reins. It no longer decides for you. You feel the old emotions when they arise, but now you have a choice in how to respond. This is the difference between wound and scar. A wound bleeds, demands attention, controls your movement. A scar is quiet. It marks where you were broken and where you healed. It reminds you of what you survived. And when you touch it consciously, it becomes a source of strength. You develop what can only be called embodied wisdom. Not the wisdom of books or theories, but the wisdom of someone who has been to the bottom and returned. You know in your bones that survival is possible. That darkness has depth, but also has an end. That you are stronger than you believed and more fragile than you pretended, and both truths can coexist. This wisdom changes how you move through the world. You become more compassionate, not just to others, but to yourself. You recognize suffering in others because you've intimately known your own. You stop judging people for their struggles because you understand how hard it is to face what's buried. Your relationships shift. You're no longer unconsciously recreating old wounds. You can recognize red flags. You can set boundaries. You can choose partners and friends who meet you in your wholeness, not your woundedness. And when conflict arises, you don't immediately spiral into old patterns. You pause, you feel, you choose. You notice yourself responding differently to situations that once would have triggered you completely. Someone cancels plans, and instead of spiraling into abandonment, panic, you feel a twinge of the old feeling, recognize it, and respond for your present self. Someone criticizes you, and instead of collapsing into shame or exploding in rage, you consider whether there's truth worth examining, and if not, you let it pass. This doesn't mean life becomes easy or painless. It means you're no longer enslaved by unconscious forces you don't understand. When something triggers you, now you recognize it. You can say to yourself, this is the old wound talking. This is the complex activating. And then you can decide consciously how you want to respond. You become, in a very real sense, more free. Free to make choices based on what you actually want, not what your trauma demands. Free to pursue relationships that nourish you. Free to take risks, to be vulnerable, to believe that good things might actually last. Living this way requires ongoing commitment. It's not a destination you arrive at, and then you're done. It's a practice, a daily choice to stay conscious, to keep integrating, to not slip back into comfortable unconsciousness. You keep paying attention to your dreams. You keep doing shadow work. You keep being honest with yourself about where you're still stuck. And you find others on this path. People who understand that healing isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything is fine. People who know that real transformation requires dissent, darkness, courage. You build community with those who have also done the work, and together you create space for others to begin their own journeys. You might become a therapist, a healer, an artist who transmutes pain into beauty. Or you might simply become someone who lives with more awareness, more compassion, more depth. Either way, you carry your experience differently. It's no longer a burden you're trying to hide. It's a story you've integrated. This is what it means to live beyond the wound. Not without it, but beyond being controlled by it. Your trauma becomes an integrated part of your story, not the author of it. The scar shines with the light of consciousness, and you discover something profound. You are not broken. You never were. You were fragmented, and fragments can be reunited. The privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you truly are. And who you truly are includes everything: the light and the dark, the joy and the pain, the strength and the vulnerability. Wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means integration. It means living as a complete human being, with all your contradictions, with all your history, with all your hard-won wisdom. You stop apologizing for your scars. You stop hiding your history. You stand in the fullness of who you've become, acknowledging both what broke you and what you built from the pieces. So if you've made it here, if something in these words has touched something in you, then you're ready. Ready to stop running. Ready to turn and face what you've been avoiding. Ready to descend into your own darkness, to retrieve your own light. Comment below and tell me, what truth have you been avoiding? What pattern finally makes sense? I read every comment and want to know how this resonates with your journey. If this video moved you, like it and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel for more content that goes this deep. Your wound can become your wisdom. Your scar can shine. But first, you have to be willing to look at it. Are you ready? The journey continues. I'll see you in the next video.